And that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
Americans for Limited Government is watching the former VP turned Democratic contender to the president. We're keeping tabs as he blunders and does other things a Republican would be arrested for.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent.
We are exclaiming along with you, whatever the hell Joe Biden is on. Today we look at Biden's potential Supreme Court picks with Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg reportedly falling ill. Here's a question at a recent press conference.
The president says he's going to issue an updated list of potential nominees to the court. You have said you would put a black woman on the court should a spot open up, but there are groups calling for you to release a list of specific names you'd put on the court. Are you going to do that?
Now, first off, Biden, who called for a drop in divisiveness, just happens to take the time to take a shot at Trump. Then he explains who he plans to nominate.
One thing I hesitate to do is follow anything the president does at all, because he usually does it all wrong. We are putting together a list of a group of African American women who are qualified and have the experience to be in the court. I am not going to release that until we go further down the line of vetting them as well.
ALG President Rick Manning reacts.
Biden's comments reminds us of Romney's binders full of women that he talked about during his election. You know, apparently Joe Biden has binders full of black women who are who are eligible to be Supreme Court justice. And it's as Romney got ridiculed for his binders of women, it's surprising that Joe Biden isn't ridiculed for his clear racist and sexist approach to the next Supreme Court justice. Should we be fortunate enough that he would be picking one?
Also, remember, Ginsburg is not the only justice on the way out.
You know, something that people have to realize is this election is going to have a monumental impact on the Supreme Court. You have two liberal justices, Breyer and Ginsburg, who are both now in their 80s, and it's unlikely that both will serve through the next 4 years, the next 4-year term, no matter who's president. You also have two more conservative jurists, in fact, the most conservative jurists on the court, in Sam Alito and Justice Clarence Thomas, who are both, Thomas 72, Alito 70, who are both in their, at least early 70s, and with a possibility that after spending a large part of their lives on the court, that they may choose to retire as well in the next 4 years. So you have a potential of 4 justices just based on age ending up being appointed in this next 4-year term. And the question people have to ask themselves, do you want Donald Trump making those appointments, or do you want Joe Biden?
Think about important decisions being made by these justices.
It's pretty clear that that our criminal justice system under the Democrats, where George Soros picks the prosecutors, doesn't prosecute the law, doesn't believe that property rights matter, believes that there are no restrictions on criminal activity if it is, quote, morally justified based upon their skewed view of morals. So whereas it's clear they also would engage in a wholesale war against people like the Little Sisters of the Poor, who Obama picked on. And finally, the Supreme Court said that they have the right to determine whether or not to provide contraception in their health plan based on religious exemptions. Do you want the bakers and others being compelled to effectively go out of business or go and do black market business in order to avoid being compelled to violate their religious principles? Do you want a Second Amendment? Because even this court didn't take up 10 different cases that would have clarified Heller and would strengthen the Heller decision, which affirmed the individual right to keep and bear arms. And this court, by not taking up those cases, made it clear to the lower courts that they could run amok and do anything they wanted to because this court was not going to sustain Heller and the basic premise that it's an individual right to keep and bear arms. Do you want Heller repealed? If you do, Joe Biden's your guy. So it's you get right down to it, and this is going to be with potentially 4 justices in line for being chosen in the next 4 years. This is going to be a monumental part of this election campaign. People get to choose.
We will see if America pays attention, takes note, and votes.